To order the January 6th, 2014 meeting of the Verona Plan Commission. We'll begin with the roll call, please.
Alderperson Yurs.
Here.
Commissioner Linder.
Here.
Commissioner Ritter is absent. Mayor Holcomer.
Here.
Commissioner Horsfall.
Here.
Commissioner Lytle. Here. Commissioner Heinzen.
Here. We do have a quorum. Thank you for that. Next on the agenda, we have approval of minutes from the December 2nd meeting of the Plan Commission. Those minutes were included with your packet, and what is your pleasure? We have a motion by Mr. Horsfall. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Yurs. Were there any additions or corrections to the minutes of the previous meeting? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And that motion carried and the minutes are approved. Next on the agenda, we have a public hearing on the conditional use permit for a proposed indoor commercial entertainment land use known as Brews Brothers Restaurant to be located at 611 Hometown Circle, Suite number 4. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Yurs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Linder. All those in favor of opening the public hearing signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. We are in the public hearing stage. I would ask Mr. Sayre to provide the background on this, please.
This is a public hearing for an indoor commercial entertainment land use. These uses are classified in the zoning ordinance or include restaurant uses, and they do require a conditional use permit. As part of that process, it requires a public hearing before the Plan Commission, and this is a recommendation to the council. And as the mayor explained, we're in the public hearing right now.
Thank you for that. With that, I will ask if there's anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item under public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak? Anyone from the public that wishes to speak? Seeing none, I would accept a motion to close the public hearing. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Mr. Horsfall. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Lytle. All those in favor of closing the public hearing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. We are now on discussion and possible action. Mr. Sayre, were there any additional comments you wanted to make?
Brews Brothers is requesting a conditional use permit to occupy approximately 2,100 square feet in the project located at 611 Hometown Circle. If you recall, the Plan Commission did approve the site plan for this project in September of last year. Along with that site plan approval, the Plan Commission and Council approved the conditional use permit for the drive-through and also the use of the outdoor patios. The proposed seating capacity of this restaurant is 65 seats. The applicant is also proposing to use the outdoor patio portion of the easternmost patio of the project development. Staff and the police department and the building inspector have reviewed the outdoor patio, and we're recommending some specific conditions be placed on the use of the outdoor patio, and I'll list those in a second. The conditions are consistent with other restaurant uses in the city that have outdoor patio areas, and it's similar to what we've done in the past. One of the things that we looked at with this project and the other project that's on the agenda tonight is the parking demand that's on the site. As of right now, we know that US Cell will be located in this project, and that will require 6 parking spaces. Orange Leaf is being proposed hopefully in the future. They have not requested their conditional use permit yet, but they're anticipated doing the near future. That use will require 12 parking spaces. Brews Brothers, this use before you tonight, requires 22 parking spaces. Little Caesars Pizza, which is on the agenda next, requires 2 parking spaces, and there's also a vacant area in this project, still approximately 1,200 square feet, that is anticipated to require 4 parking spaces, and the 4 is based upon retail use or professional service use. So with that, the overall parking demand on the project, or the required number of spaces, is actually 46 parking spaces. The development provides 60 spaces, so we actually have 14 spaces extra left over. So the proposed restaurant use does conform to the parking requirements. As part of the conditional use process, we did go through the specific and general findings of fact as required by the ordinance, and it does meet those requirements. So with that, staff does recommend, the Plan Commission recommend to the Common Council approval of the conditional use permit to allow Brews Brothers Restaurant to be located at 611 Hometown Circle in Suite Number 4 with the following conditions. Number 1, the outdoor patio fencing shall be a minimum of 48 inches tall. 2, the exit for the patio shall be labeled as an exit only. And 3, the fence and gate for the outdoor patio shall comply with the requirements from the police department and the building inspector. And the architect for this project is aware of those conditions and is comfortable with those conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Sayre. I would ask before, if we have any questions, is there anyone representing the applicant that wishes to speak this evening?
I'm the owner of Bruce Brothers Pub.
Okay. Did you have anything you wanted to add, or you're here to answer any questions if there might be? Okay.
The fence requirement is the same that we have at my other location, so.
Okay. We will open it up then for questions and discussion from the Plan Commission. If we were to take action this evening, it would be a recommendation to the Common Council. Questions, comments? Mr. Yurs?
You know, I was intrigued by this the last time we talked about this, and I think it is going to be a nice addition to this, especially to this part of the city, being near the ball fields and kind of other like-minded style events going on in the city. And with that, I would like to make a motion to recommend that the Common Council approve the conditional use permit to allow the Brews Brothers Restaurant to located at 611 Hometown Circle, Suite Number 4, and have those conditions that were mentioned before.
The 3 conditions that were mentioned. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Horsfall. Discussion on the motion. Again, this is not anything that's real new to us. We've seen it before. Mr. Linder?
Question, when we approved the conditional use permit for the building, was there a limit on number of tenants, or was it just square footage?
Mr. Sayre?
It was based upon square footage, so it was a white box. They could break it out how they wanted to.
Okay. So how wide is that last piece then?
The vacant piece in the middle?
The vacant?
It's approximately 1,200 square feet. I don't know the exact width. I mean, I would guess it'd probably be some type of professional use, or most likely, probably not retail, probably a professional type use in there. But I know the owner of the project is working actively to try to fill that right now.
Further questions or comments? Mr. Horsfall?
On the December 10th letter, it talks about hours of operation. Does that have to be included in the motion, or is it that's standard hours of operation? And what I'm wondering, if somebody else, if for some reason you would sell it, does the hours of operation go with the property, or does it go with whoever's operating that business at that time?
Mr. Sayre?
It would go with the use, so if you were to sell it and someone else were to come in, they'd have to comply with that, the hours listed in there. So if you were to open your own restaurant or do whatever there, you'd have to comply with what they've submitted in their application. And if the use were to go away for more than a year, the new user would have to come in and get a new conditional use permit. So the conditional use permit would carry on as long as it does not cease operation for more than a year.
Okay, so we don't have to tie it to the motion?
No, it's in the submitted material, so it'd be in there.
Thank you.
Other, Mr. Lytle, please?
I agree with Alder Yurs about the appropriateness of this location and this particular business here, and I think it will enhance the community a lot. I do know we've had some discussions about hours of operation for businesses on East Verona Avenue in the past, and these were for Culver's, and then I can't remember, did McDonald's come through and ask for extended hours for their drive-through or something like that? I know those have been a bit of a sticking point, more so with Culver's because they're closer to some residential areas. I think this is reasonable during the week till midnight and on weekends till 1 a.m., but I think we're also probably setting a precedent for future businesses there. I know there's another restaurant proposal that's out there for East Verona Avenue, and just clarifying that we're comfortable with those hours of operation in that part of town.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question then. All those in favor of the motion with the three conditions signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Next, we have agenda item number 5, which is a public hearing on a conditional use permit for a proposed indoor commercial entertainment land use known as Little Caesars Pizza to be located, excuse me, at 611 Hometown Circle, Suite 5. I would accept a motion to open the public hearing. We have a motion by Mr. Horsfall. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Heinzen. All in favor of opening the public hearing signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. That motion carries. We are in the public hearing stage. And Mr. Sarah, if you would provide the background, please.
Once again, this is a conditional use permit for the restaurant use, which is classified as an indoor commercial entertainment land use in the zoning ordinance. As with the last public hearing, this one also requires public hearing by ordinance, and this is a recommendation to the Common Council.
Thank you, Mr. Sarah. With that, we are in the public hearing stage. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak this evening? Anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? I'm not seeing anyone coming up to the podium. So with that, I would accept the motion to close the public hearing. We have a motion by Mr. Linder. Is there a second? Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Horsfall. All those in favor of closing the public hearing signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried, and the public hearing portion is closed. Mr. Sayre, was there anything else that you wish to add?
Little Caesars is proposing to occupy approximately 1,500 square feet of the easternmost suite at 611 Hometown Circle. This is the suite that has the drive-through. The intent of Little Caesars is to utilize that drive-through as a pickup window. So if you make an order online or on the phone, you could just go to the drive-through and pay and pick it up. They'll also have a display board out there as well of what they call their hot and ready items. Those are items that are available for immediate purchase. So if there's a pizza you could buy right then and there, it'll be on the board, and that board will update continuously. So it won't be used as a message board in the sense of placing an order. It'll just be a board displaying, here are the things that are hot and ready and can be purchased right now. So the window itself will be utilized as just as a pickup location. The restaurant itself will have a seating capacity of approximately 4 seats. The intent of the restaurant is, once again, not to be utilized for a dine-in service, just to pick up items. As with the last item on the agenda, we looked at parking. Little Caesars requires 2 parking spaces. Once again, the overall development requires a total of 46 parking spaces, and a total of 60 spaces have been provided. Staff has no issues with the parking that's on the site. We went through the general conditional use permits, findings of facts, and also the specific conditional use permits, findings of facts, and we find that the Little Caesars meets those requirements. And based upon the report, the staff does recommend, the Plan Commission recommend to the Common Council approval of the conditional use permit to allow for a Little Caesars Pizza restaurant to be located at 611 Hometown Circle in suite number 5.
Thank you, Mr. Sayre. Again, I'll ask if there's anyone representing the applicant that wishes to provide any additional information. Not seeing any, we are open then for discussion from the Plan Commission members. Is there any comments, questions? Again, this will be a recommendation if we take action to the Common Council. Mr. Linder, please.
What kind of, you talk about a sign, like, I don't know, what kind of sign are they proposing? I don't see any information on the sign on here.
Mr. Sayre?
No, the sign would just be, well, it's not a sign actually. It's a message, it's a board. So as you'd come around the drive-through, it would be located approximately in this corner. The windows right here would be located in this area here, and it'd be mounted. I believe it's going to be mounted on the ground, and that's something that staff will review internally and approve.
It's not a sign that you can see from East Verona Avenue?
No, and that was my initial question too when I first heard about it. And it's gonna be tilted away, at least towards the dumpster, more not facing towards the road. And it's electronic, so if there is a glare issue, there's something that they can control as well too.
Mr. Linder?
Do they have any of these buildings have signs on, ground signs on?
For this project here, no, there is no ground sign. No, that was one of the things that, I think it was discussed back in September. When the plan development for Farm and Fleet was approved, it did limit the number of ground signs that could be placed on these out parcels, and so no, this will not have its own ground sign.
Further questions or comments on this agenda item? Mr. Lytle?
Just one real quick for you, Adam. It looks like on the south face, or the south side of Little Caesars, there's a door there that opens onto the patio. I'm assuming the way the restaurant's laid out, that's just like an emergency exit from the kitchen area. The patrons will be entering on the north side.
Mr. Sarah?
Yeah, Little Caesars has no intentions to use the patio at all. I believe it is an emergency exit. The building was designed so that it would be flexible, so technically Little Caesars or the Brewers Brothers restaurant could have access to that, and if they ever left in the future, multiple tenants could try to use that space as well. And even on the west side too, Orange Leaf and US Cell could, there's actually 2 doors out there as well, but US Cell won't be using that, but Orange Leaf would be. So I believe it is for emergency purposes though.
Mr. Linder?
I'll make a motion, recommend that the Common Council approve the conditional use permit to allow Little Caesars Pizza Restaurant to be located at 611 Hometown Circle, Suite number 5.
We have a motion by Mr. Linder. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Heinzen. We are open for discussion on the motion. Any further comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And that motion carries. So those 2 agenda items will be on the Common Council agenda for Monday evening. Okay, with that, we have discussion and possible action regarding site plan approval extension for a proposed building addition to Leisure Threads located at 411 West Verona Avenue to create a 0 lot line building with the property at 413 West Verona Avenue. Mr. Sayre, please.
Thank you. Leisure Threads is requesting an extension to construct their building addition. If you recall, back in November of 2012, the Plan Commission did approve a site plan for Leisure Threads and also a 0 lot line building with Leisure Threads and a chiropractic clinic to the west. And in your packet, I've included the 2012 report for your information. The project that was approved for Leisure Threads was actually a 2-phase project. These are the approved site plans from 2012. This would have been phase 1, and phase 2 would have finished off the entire building. And then our perspective of it as well, this was phase 1 and phase 2. As part of this extension, Leisure Threads is requesting some minor changes to the site plan. The first change they're requesting is a change in the phasing. They're requesting to do the entire project in 1 phase. The second change that they're requesting is a change in the roof line. They're proposing a pitched roof now on the back portion of the project. The 2012 approval had a flat roof throughout the entire project, but they're proposing to pitch the roof. Staff has no concerns with the phasing changes or the roof changes. A couple things to point out to the Plan Commission. The ordinance does require that projects that are approved by the Plan Commission to start construction within 1 year. That's why it's back here tonight. The site plan approval did expire, so it needed to come back and get renewed. And also with that, it also requires that projects, once it's constructed, be operational within 730 days of approval. Staff is strongly recommending to the property owner and the business owner to complete the project and move forward with it, so we don't have to keep coming back to the Plan Commission and having this renewed. A second thing to point out is, as a conditional approval of the chiropractic clinic at 413 West Verona Avenue, there was a condition that prior to the occupancy permit being issued, that the chiropractic clinic must finish the east wall to match the other 3 sides. And that included putting window treatments in and whatnot. That is a condition that staff has not enforced yet, and the reason we haven't enforced it is because it's going to cost a lot of money to put the windows in and install that, and our goal has always been to have Leisure Threads build up to that building itself. But with that being said, we're reaching the point from a staff level of, if this project doesn't go forward in 2014, we are going to start enforcing, or we are going to enforce that with the chiropractic clinic. So that also hopefully will speed up Leisure Threads to get this project done, because otherwise, I know, I'm guessing the chiropractic clinic doesn't want us to go back and tell them to put windows in or clean up the wall, but it's something we're going to do because it was a condition of approval and it was something that was required by the Plan Commission. So I just wanted to point that out, that we are aware that condition is still hanging out there, and we've been, to be honest, dragging our feet out because we were hoping this would go forward and wouldn't have to deal with that issue. The final comment that I've actually made to the property owner is I've encouraged them to take a look at or contact the broker for Michael's Restaurant. If this project doesn't go forward, now is the ideal time, if any. If redevelopment of this property does not occur, would be to contact the broker and see if they're interested in trying to combine this parcel with the Michael's piece as well. Michael's is approximately 1 acre. This site is approximately quarter acre almost. It's not much, but it would add to a possible redevelopment project in the area. So I've encouraged the property owner to do that. I know he's been busy with the holiday season, but he has taken it under consideration as something to consider. And I think it's a great business to have in the city. I think it's something we want to keep here, but if there's concerns of the feasibility of this project, like I said, I've encouraged that property owner to at least consider that option, and I'd be happy to help him out with that as well. So just letting the Plan Commission know that I've had that conversation too with the property owner. So with that all being said, staff does recommend the Plan Commission approve a 1-year extension for the proposed building addition at 411 West Verona Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Sayre. This, if we were to take action this evening, this would be an action of the Plan Commission, and it's not necessary to go to the Common Council. Questions or comments? Any questions or comments? Mr. Horsfall?
I think, Adam did a nice job explaining things, and I'm perfectly willing to kind of go ahead with the year extension, so I'm all for this.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Mr. Lytle?
I just had a couple questions for the owner, if you don't mind.
I don't think
No?
the owner's not here this evening.
All right, then I'll opine a little bit.
Okay.
I know we had significant concerns about how serious the owner was about their portion of this project, and this came past us over a year ago. Scanning through the email exchanges that have taken place between Adam and the owner, I don't get a good feeling that they're truly any more anxious to get this kicked off. And you would start footings and a foundation in the coldest months of the year. That doesn't pass much of a smell test with me either. I'm perfectly willing to be flexible, but I'm very concerned that we're going to be back here in a year in the same situation. I'd be more inclined to grant 6 to 9 month extension versus a year. I think that would help be clear that we expect something to happen here, or they need to start the process over again. So I'll be anxious to hear what others have to say, but I'm not inclined to give a full year extension.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Mr. Yurs?
Mr. Sayre, was this project discussed at all in any of the downtown meetings, since this is kind of on the fringe of that corridor but still within the boundaries?
I'm not aware of this project being discussed, so I don't believe it was.
Other questions or comments? Mr. Linder?
I agree with Mr. Lytle. I'm not sure how serious these guys are. It seemed wishy-washy when they were here a year ago, and I remember talking about discussions with the chiropractic location and how, if they're gonna have to be required to put windows in and all that. So I don't know. I guess I'm okay with a year, but if everybody is interested in 6 or 9 months, I'd be fine with that, because then they'd have to come back again. But I guess off the top, I'd just do the year and give them another chance, and at that point, they'd have to come back for a new submittal process.
Other questions or comments? Mr. Horsfall?
So the year is for them to start work, or the year is for them to complete work?
Mr. Sayre?
How's
The,
that?
the year is the start, and then you get one more year to complete the work.
I guess I'm with Patrick then about more like 9 months. And so 9 months would put us in September. You'd think that by then they'd get their act together enough to get something started, or we'd know by then, you know. So I'm with Patrick to move it to 9 months.
Other questions or comments? I'm seeing heads nodding, but we don't have a motion at this point. Mr. Lytle?
I don't want to cut anybody off, but I'll make the motion. I would make a motion to approve a 9-month extension for the proposed building addition at 411 West Verona Avenue.
Before I accept the second, that's 9 months for construction to commence. Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? We have a second by Mr. Horsfall. Any additional comments or questions on the motion? Mr. Linder?
Just one question, is that 9 months from the time the first one expired, or 9 months from now?
Mr. Sayre?
It's up to you. I personally would, if you're doing it today, I would say 9 months from today, but
Mr. Lytle?
I would accept that clarification.
So it's 9 months within, beginning today. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Thank you for that. Agenda item number 7 is discussion only on a planned development concept plan for Hometown Grove Development located at 845 Kimball Lane to allow for the construction of a 4-unit townhouse and the development of single-family lots. Mr. Sayre, if you would, please.
this project was before you last month for a initial review for the conceptual level of planned unit development. It then went to council, and the applicant has made some changes based upon the feedback from the Plan Commission and council. And in fact, the applicant has submitted 3 concepts for discussion tonight. I guess real briefly, I'll just go through the history of this project. Initially, Hometown Grove was approved in 2005 as a planned unit development. As part of that planned unit development, it approved 2 apartment buildings for 48 apartment units, and also approved a variety of townhouses for a total of 94 townhouse units. To date, the apartment buildings have been constructed along with 3 townhouse units for a total of 16 townhouse units in the project. The townhouses that have been constructed include, I believe this is 1 to 6, and then 7 to 12, and also a 4-unit building east of there as well, which is I think 18 to 22 on the site plan. So those units have been constructed. Due to the economic collapse in 2007 and 2008, the condo market has fallen apart, and obviously along with it, the townhouse proposal is no longer a viable option. So over the course of a variety of the years, various developers have come in looking to redevelop the site or do different things on this site. You know, in 2009, there's a proposal for townhouses and an additional apartment building. The project didn't move forward. In 2010, a different developer came back looking at doing triplex, duplex, and single-family lots. Once again, the project did not go forward. And then obviously the December 2013 proposal is in here as well. The proposal from December included 37 single-family homes, the relocation of an existing townhouse, and allow for the future construction of a 4-unit townhouse building. Comments at the December 2nd Plan Commission meeting included the applicant providing more details, concerns about the small lot sizes not meeting the minimum 6,000 square foot, concerns about the setbacks, and the need to add more off-street parking. When the Common Council discussed this, concerns from the council included the small garage sizes, the limited on-street parking, narrow streets, and also the small lot sizes. In addition, at the council meeting, the city police chief did express some concerns with the street right-of-way being too small. So based upon the feedback, the applicant submitted the 3 options, which I'll walk through quickly here. Option A is a somewhat of a hybrid of what was submitted from December. And what option A does is it increases the road width. So the plan that the Plan Commission looked at in December had 52-foot wide roadways. The roadways in this plan would be 56 feet wide. And what that does is that provides a 32 face-to-face curb. So the street would be 32 feet of pavement versus 28 feet of pavement. This would accommodate parking on both sides during the summer months, and most likely parking would be restricted during the winter months to alternate side parking or even odd parking. With option A, the park in the central portion of the development has increased in size. These lots in here as well are now front-loaded lots with garages in the front. The proposal in December, these lots were alley-loaded. Some of the lots in this area here with the alley-loaded lots have shrunk slightly. A couple of them have. So those are the major changes with option A. Option B, once again, is a hybrid approach to what was shown in December. The street width around the ring road, as I would call it, is once again 56 feet wide, which provides that 32 face-to-face pavement. The lots up here, once again, are alleys, and alleys back here. One of the big changes in the middle here, there is a large park proposed in the middle as a green space for an amenity for people living there. That's probably the most significant change of what is shown on the site. Some of the lots also in this area have gotten smaller once again to accommodate the wider roads and the park. Finally, option C is we had the developer lay out a conventional subdivision that would conform to all the lot requirements in the CR zoning district. So this does conform to the minimum lot sizes of 6,000 square feet. It does conform to the minimum lot widths, and it also conforms, the streets also conform to 66 feet wide, and that would be a 36-foot face-to-face street. That'd be your standard residential street that you have in most subdivisions in the city. The lots themselves would be front-loaded, and that would include the ones on Kimball Lane as well. A couple things about access. One of the things that, as I've said, is that the options A and option B, the public roadway sizes have increased. The main ring road, at least, has become 56 feet. One of the things that was looked at in the city's comprehensive plan was looking at right-of-way widths on local roadways and looking at, is there a way to possibly reduce those? And one of the recommendations or one of the thoughts in there was looking at a 60 to 66-foot wide right-of-way that would provide 32 to 34 feet of pavement on the road. And the intent was that to be more flexible, to have less pavement, to reduce traffic speeds, and just provide additional options when done in the correct area. So something to keep in mind, there's some conceptual cross sections that were included that I had in your packet as well from the comprehensive plan. It's up to the Plan Commission and Council if this is the right location for some smaller roads or not. And looking at the architecture, the options A and B would both require a planned unit development. Option C obviously would not, because that could be done with straight zoning. With option A and option B, staff once again would recommend some specific architectural language be included in the actual approval of it, to making sure that we have a consistent look, a consistent theme in the development. With option C, that language would not be included because it's a project that could be done with straight zoning. PUD exemptions have been laid out by the applicant in their write-ups, and I won't go through those specifically, but they're, in general, options A and option B are still pretty consistent with what was shown at the last Plan Commission meeting. You'd have a reduced setback in the front of approximately 20 feet. The rear setback would be smaller for alley-loaded lots because of the alley garages. So those are still pretty much the same as what we saw last time. A few comments from staff on each option. I guess I'll go through those real quick. Option A, from a staff standpoint, option A, one thing that I do like about it is it does preserve that look along Kimball Lane. You have that existing 6-unit townhouse building with the porches on the front. This option would keep that look consistent. You'd have the alley-loaded lots, so you'd you'd have porches on the lots fronting Kimball Lane, so you'd have a consistent theme down that street. One of the concerns I do have with this is that with the removal of the alley in the back to the south here, is this really a true traditional neighborhood design? I'm not sure if it is or not. I mean, you're losing some of the character when you don't have the alley loaded lots, and I'm not sure if it's really a true TND myself. You might just have smaller lots in here. So is this something the Plan Commission is comfortable with? That's a question of the Plan Commission and Council. Option B, why I find this intriguing, and once again, you keep the look on Kimball Lane. The park is an intriguing idea. I think the park is going to be challenges for parking. I think those middle lots along that park, when someone comes to visit those people, they're going to have to walk a considerable distance, and I think that's going to be challenging in the future. And I think even from a sales standpoint, that could be challenging as well. If the Plan Commission likes this idea, I think at a minimum, we'd have to look at doing some parking on the west side as well. So it's an intriguing idea, and I appreciate the developer taking a look at this. I question long-term, there could be significant parking challenges for these lots located in the middle of the development. Option C, as I said previously, option C does conform to all the zoning requirements and the minimum lot sizes and the minimum road sizes. My concern with this option is that you will lose that look along Kimball Lane. So it's a matter of, yes, the developer might be able to make this work with conventional zoning, but the look and feel along Kimball Lane may be jeopardized. Most likely what will happen is the townhouses will stick out. They'll look out of place of, people will probably ask what happened there. So it's a trade-off if the Plan Commission Council start looking at this option is the look and feel along Kimball Lane most likely would be diminished. With that said, staff most likely supports an option, or planning staff supports an option that's similar to option B. It'd be a hybrid approach similar to what you saw back in December. You'd have some smaller streets, you'd have alley-loaded lots, you'd preserve that look along Kimball Lane, but flexibility would need to be granted in that PUD process. But with that, I know the applicant is here tonight, willing and happy to answer any questions. Staff does encourage the Plan Commission to review the submitted materials. I know there's 3 different options in here. I know the applicant's looking for feedback, and the more you can give them, the better.
Thank you, Mr. Sayre. Before we have any questions, is there anything that the applicant wants to add at this point? If you would.
First of all, I'd like to thank you, the Plan Commission, and the Council for giving us their input last month, and we've definitely went back and considered all of the comments that you did make, and we sat down with our design engineer, that would be D'Onofrio and Kotke, and they really were the ones that came up with these 3 different options that we had, and we had several things that we wanted to consider, and one being the comments, particularly we also felt like that the play area, the park needed to be larger. That was one area we wanted to consider. Second thing was the street widening. That was certainly a consideration, and it's very important to us to have 2-sided parking, particularly on that ring road, and that was important to us. We did listen to your chief of police about his necessity for 2-sided parking, and with discussing that with him, he kind of said, well, I would settle for the ring road to be 2-sided parking, and I'm okay with the one center road being still 52 foot. That would be 1-sided parking also. So at least we'd have a little consistency there. We did ask D'Onofrio to get a look at the CR plan. I think it's possible to do that. He came up with several different options, and the one you see here happens to be the best one we could come up with. But our feelings are much like Adam's, is that we really aren't in favor of losing the traditional neighborhood design as that would do. It's also, you look at some of the configurations of the lots, They would be more expensive than what we would provide them. But also, if you look at them, they're 50-foot wide lots, although yes, they do meet the 6,000 square foot. But, you know, to get a front-loaded home on a 50-foot lot is what you guys asked that we not do on the other design. So that leans us more towards really leaning back to an option A or option B. And Steve and I put our heads together trying to consider the comments, and we were given the comments that staff gave us to review, and one of them that I guess we're leaning towards, we both kind of like the two different locations. We came up with the idea of having a greenway in the middle because the Smith's Crossing out in Sun Prairie has an area that does have the traditional neighborhood design up against a greenway. And that seemed to be kind of a nice feeling. Doesn't give us a big space, but also I think after we've thought about it enough, there would be some questions I think the fire department's going to have about being able to get to those center homes. So even though it's a nice idea, and we were planning on having D'Onofrio go through there with their landscape architect and actually using that to create a really nice green area, maybe a meandering concrete walk running through it with some specific interest locations, swing sets, little gym set. You know, we could make that really cute. But I think from my standpoint, and I'm not going to speak for Steve because we both kind of have our own interests, I would really like to suggest a fourth presentation, if you might. I brought it along. We didn't have time to work it out, but it is just a...
Actually, we're going to have you go there because the cameras can pick it up better. But then we should, Steve, do you want to see if that cordless mic is, or the lapel mic over by Mr. Furley? The camera will pick it up if you just leave it.
Okay, there. Pretty much, there we are on. Pretty much taking Adam's concern about not having, in option A, let's go to option A that you see on your paper there, of not really carrying through that traditional neighborhood design. We felt like we could introduce a 24-foot alley in the upper island and actually have it make a 90-degree turn and come out next to the park. So there could be an alley, a through street, as there would be down on the lower section. We would have to narrow up the lots a little bit in order to get the 24 foot alley through there. And most likely that would have a 16-foot paved roadway with concrete roll-up curbs, and then there would have a 4-foot probably a terrace before it would come to the property line. And in all of these lots, we're proposing the rear lot lines on the alley side would be 5 feet, building lines, so that the garages we're proposing that the garages then would have a 5-foot apron along with this 4-foot easement, so there would be about a 9-foot driveway onto the alleyway, and that would be consistent with both the alley areas. Okay, so that would give us a little bit of green in the back. It would give us some area to be able to set trash collection and still have enough space so that the emergency truck could get through, and particularly the garbage trucks could move through that area. We would leave lots 16, 17, and 18 as is. They would be the bigger lots. Instead of being 90 feet, they'd be 78 feet deep. They would still be the 3 largest. However, being on that configuration, we felt like we didn't want to do anything with them. The lots adjacent to the front road would line up with the other lots directly on the opposite side of the street. They would be a little smaller, they'd be a slight bit narrower, not narrower, they'd be the same width, but the depth, they would be a little bit shorter. And these would probably be the 5 lots, which would be the smallest lots of the entire development. And we got thinking about that, and we thought, you know, economically speaking, we're trying to create some flexibility in affordable housing. And even though there would be single-family homes, there would be some people, and we had the engineers draw up a couple of footprints for those lots, and it's very capably be able to put a nice ranch or even a 2-story home back-fed, alley-fed on those lots. So, I mean, it's not out of the question. They wouldn't be large lots, but again, they would give us some diversity in being able to price them properly. The rest of the lots on the perimeter would still be front-fed. They have increased, though, so that they are, in most cases, 60 feet wide. The corner lots here, we anticipate that the front setbacks would be a little farther back, so that we'd set them back so that the building frontage would be as the rest of these were. So you can imagine that these homes here would be set back a little farther from the street than the other lots. So I guess as I'm speaking, I really kind of like this design. I think that it covers what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And really, we've looked at everybody else's design, and honestly, I think it's, in my opinion, it's the best use of the land. So I'm going to turn this over to Steve, and he's got some other comments.
Chuck, before we do that, can I just ask a question? And maybe if Andy can hear me, if you can blow that back up again so people at home are watching. I don't think any of the, my opinion, none of the options are perfect. And I was glad to see that you have another option, because this is something we were thinking about and talking a little bit up here. But did you consider it all with your 4th option, with the alleyway of not putting in the right angle turn? You'd lose some of the parkway, which, you know, I hate to see that gone as well. But I, for one, I'm really concerned about that right angle turn in there with the alleyway. So I was just wondering, did you look at any options where that alleyway would go straight instead of making the right angle turn?
It could. I don't think that would be an objection. Again, we're here to take comments. This is not locked in stone. We're not saying this is the only way to go, but if we have to tweak it a little bit, if we carried that straight through, we'd lose a little bit of that park. But I think that it could be a possibility. I think that, you know, that would, if you felt that was a deal breaker, I think it certainly could be moved. We might take that section that's indicated here as that turn, and it might be able to feed that back into these, and possibly get a 4th, more consistent with the traditional neighborhood design lot in that corner, but possibly not. I mean, we're comfortable with the lot count as it is. So if it just means carrying that through, yeah, I don't think that's out of the question, do you?
Okay.
I think that would be a reasonable.
I think Mr. Gunlock had something to add.
Yeah, I would be against that 90-degree bend. You won't get a garbage truck around it, and you would never get a fire truck around it.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Lytle.
Just sort of on that subject of what might make sense and might disrupt things a little less is sort of a dogleg angle. Make that, instead of a 90, like a 45, so it comes, perpendicular to the top left street.
Like this? And down through there?
Yeah, that might work.
You're gonna lose this area probably. You're saying, let's say the street would come in an angle like that?
Basically perpendicular to the main street, to the ring road.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't know that that's better or worse, it's just an option.
I think that once we lay it out and we do a preliminary plat, then the engineers would look into the radiuses that are required, and that would probably end up determining what that should be.
Yeah, you need to put a single unit truck on it to see what the radiuses are, and a 45, bringing that in at 45, yeah, and perpendicular to the main street may work, but the 90-degree will not.
Okay.
I guess another question I have is, what is the area of the 5 lots that are gonna be along the interior street then? How
Here?
big are they actually gonna be?
Well, I scaled them off at 48 wide by 78. So I didn't calculate that out, but when we went back and looked at the other neighborhoods that D'Onofrio Kotke have designed, that's still larger than a good share of them. So we're within bounds on that.
That also does give us the opportunity to have different price ranges for the housing, which is, from my limited understanding of TNDs, that's one of the things we're trying to accomplish with that, is to have a variety of levels of price on the housing.
But before Steve goes on, I think Mr. Yers had a question. Dale?
Whoops, sorry about that. And there were only 4 lots there. I mean, is that 5th lot necessary even if you do extend the alleyway? I mean, because the lot sizes, that's one of the things the council talked about, and that I believe the plan commission talked about, that we're already getting to some pretty small lot sizes. So is that 5th lot in there really necessary? And then you can also keep more of the park, I would think.
Well, yeah, I mean, whether it's necessary or not is sort of, we don't have everything exactly analyzed as far as, what's going to be affordable to do. We keep pushing the project to where we're reducing the number of lots, and we know that it's going to get tougher and tougher to make it work, and to do an analysis that's going to encourage a bank to actually go in on this with us and lend us the money that it's going to take to make this development happen. So I don't know. I can't answer that question definitively. I just know that we're really keeping, we're pushing down the number of lots.
How many lots did you come to us with the last time? 37?
One of the reasons that I laid out, and again, this was by hand, I felt like the proper neighborhood design would be to line each one of these lots up with the lot that's across the street from it, rather than breaking them up from 4. So that's what I did, is I just extended the property lines on these into this area. So again, they're a little smaller, but it certainly is buildable and can be done, and that would allow us to be able to offer those at a lesser price than the ones across the street. And also then, we want to talk about the 0 lot line that we're proposing for the condominiums that are presently zoned that way. Because speaking with several of the bankers, 0 lot line single-family homes are going to be a lot easier to be able to finance than a condominium. And although that's going to be a proposal we have not approached, there are 3 owners of those 16. That's going to be something that we'll have to do in order to put this into place. But we didn't feel that this was the proper time to do that until we got your consent and at least direction to come back. I think the next step in the GDP will be our preliminary plat, which will identify a lot more of the radiuses, identify the roads better. We'll have cross-sections of the streets that you can take a look at, and certainly we'll be contacting your city engineer before we do any of that. I think, actually, I think that Ron Kloss and Mr. Gunlock have already discussed some of this stuff, so.
Go ahead.
I really don't have anything further to add on this plan.
Mr. Lytle?
Can you remind me the lot count as that's currently laid out there for option?
35,
35.
gained one. And I,
Question, go ahead. Questions or comments on any of the now 4 options? Mr. Horsfeld?
Question for Adam. In our current supply of single-family homes, how much is it in the CR development or CR zoning? Any clue,
Mr. Sarah?
plus or minus 50?
I don't know. I know there are some in Cathedral Point which have not opened up yet. I know there are a handful of lots in there. Scenic Ridge, I don't think there's too many in Scenic Ridge. In general, in single family though, we don't have much single family available. So if we can talk about that, that I know a lot more about. But specific to the CR zoning, I don't know off the top of my head. You know, besides Cathedral Point and Scenic Ridge, those are the only 2 active subdivisions we have going. Scenic Ridge is going to probably be done in the very near future. It's going to be developed, built out, and the only one left will be Cathedral Point.
And does Cathedral Point have CR zoning?
They do. They have a combination of, they have CR zoning, they have NR zoning, and they also have, I believe, 1 multifamily lot as well.
I'm just gonna make the comment that, once again, I was a person that was kind of pushing towards the larger size lots, and that's, nothing I've seen today has changed my opinion about that. So I'm more in favor of option C. I think option C can get some tweaking so the lots look a little bit better. But that's how I feel about it. Thanks.
Mr. Yurs?
I would just like to thank you for kind of taking some of the concerns in. There's still more work to be done, to be sure, but I'm much more optimistic about it this time than I was last time. And I really do like the idea of having some more entry-level housing available within the city. So I do commend you on that, and I hope we can find a plan that works well.
Thank you, Dale. Mr. Linder?
Couple of thoughts. You know, the Plan C, which is the CR lot sizes, I look at that and, you know, you got your garages by the road, so that means your house is probably facing the middle. They're all facing towards the middle, I guess, and I'm not sure how that would work. Is that true, or on this one?
No, they're, the houses face the road, it's just that they have the garages on the front.
So the backside, just a back
Just
patio? then?
backyard.
Okay. All right. The other 3, you know, with the smaller lots, I'd probably like that one the best, because I like the idea of having the houses face each other across the road more than in the alley. So, I mean, I do like the idea of the road angling a little bit there too. I think that enhances things. I think you're on the right path. I'd like, you know, I'm kind of, the more I think about this, the more I like the idea of having some smaller size lots like this in the city to little diversity and see how they go. It's not a huge development, so it's not like we're changing it like huge development, just a small one, test trial. And I know these work in different communities, and it gives us a little bit different housing stock. So I think you're on the right track.
Mr. Lytle?
If we're all chiming in, I would say that option D is my preferred with the modifications to the alley. I'd rather see option D come back with 32 or 33 lots. I think we may be pushing things a little bit to try to get 35 lots out of it, but I consider that a relatively minor tweak. I know you all have to run your numbers, but that would be my recommendation.
Sorry, was lot 1, option what again? D. Thank you.
Option, Chuck. Yeah.
Other questions or Mr. Heinzen, please?
Sure, thanks. I think I like option D best as well, and I just want to get some clarification on the number of lots when you went from option A to option D. And as I understand it, you are adding a lot from A to D, and the reason why you're adding a lot, or the reason why there's another lot, is in order to have the properties across the street from each other be the same width. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay.
It was also kind of a comment on Mr. Sears saying that he felt like we were moving away from the traditional neighborhood small design. And I felt like it made good engineering layout sense to line them up so that the houses faced each other.
I think that with the change in the road, again, that Mr. Lytle mentioned, option D looks very nice.
Other comments? I think pretty much I agree with what Mr. Lytle, Mr. Heinzen said. Mr. Linder, I personally, I would prefer some larger lots, but I think this is a smaller neighborhood. This would give us an opportunity to try this. And again, I think a little bit more tweaking, and hopefully we can get to where we all need to be.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. No other questions or comments from the Planning Commission? There's no action on this evening?
Thanks.
Mr. Sears, this will go in for, as a review again in front of the Common Council?
Mr. Sarah?
Yes, it'll be on the council agenda for discussion only, similar to this and like last
It
time.
was.
Yes, so next Monday night.
Okay.
There is nothing else on the agenda, so a motion to adjourn would be in order. We have a motion by Mr. Linder. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Yurs. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.